I'm Amber Bell, and this is Real Agriculture. Here today with Brett Matthiessen with Alberta Grazing Leaseholders Association. So, welcome, Brett. It's great to see you.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity to speak about grazing leases, as I think the public and producers we don't have a lot of knowledge about the grazing lease system in Alberta.
I think you're right. I've been ranching for in Alberta for quite a while and didn't actually know much about this at all until this year when I started hunting. So, let's kind of go into what your association does. What exactly are you guys there for?
We're an association that represents the leaseholder, and we advocate on their behalf to the government who who administers the crown lands of which the grazing leases are established on.
Very cool. Okay, and grazing leases. What are those? What's the history? How did we get here today?
Okay, so we got to go way back, 1866 to 1885 in North America. The beef herd was mainly focused in Texas. After the Civil War, they moved the herd grew to like over to an extraordinary amount that they couldn't. So there was a lot of need for beef production and with the growing industries in North America. So they moved these cattle to northern native grasslands or the Great Plains. And what happened was with the tragedy of the commons is as it's referred to, or another name was the range wars. So basically first come, first serve, and it created just extraordinary competition, which gave the the spotlight for a lot of classic Western movies, like Lonesome Dove comes to mind as one of my favorites that depict this story. So the Canadian government at this time was monitoring this, and it resulted, and as they found out, it resulted in the declaration of those native grasslands and led to the Dust Bowl era, as you can imagine, in the 1930s. So the Canadian government wanted to avoid this. They created the Dominion Act, and which gave had two purposes. It gave a grantee of tender to the leaseholder, uh, so property rights, and was to stimulate the beef industry. And their main goal was to prevent the ecological disaster that happened in the United States.
That's very cool. And so this is still a thing today, obviously, because you guys have an association. What does that look like today in Alberta?
So today we have over 5,700 leases in Alberta. I exist on 5% of the crown land, so 5.2 million acres. And so the leaseholders are stewarding these leases and to utilizing the grass for beef production.
Very cool. And what does that actually look like? So it's owned by the Crown. Um, what rights do producers have on the land? And, is it something that the Crown can take back at any point in time? How does it get traded? Kind of go into some of the depth of that.
Yeah, so acquiring a lease, it's a contract with the government. It's written in it's a legal terms. They are acquired similarly to deeded land through auction or a private treaty, like through a private sale. But it comes with it comes with the obligations to the government that the owner of the lease has to abide by and maintain. You don't actually own the land, but you own the infrastructure. So fence lines, water development, corrals, and you have the rights to the grass that exist on those acres that you purchased the contract for. These grazing leases will be administered by a rangeologist for under the Department of Parks and Forestry. And they monitor the rangelands and will work with the producer to help them maintain those. the obligations in the contract.
Right. And what obligations are typical in those contracts?
Uh, so overgrazing, health of riparian areas in the ecosystem. Fence lines must be erected, um, for obvious reasons. Um, yeah, and the overall health of the rangeland. Yeah.
Right. And that's super important. It's great to hear that happening. Is there any available land in Alberta currently?
Uh, yeah, I'm sure if you can find them on your available on like any realty firms, or if yeah, like it's similar to other land. Sometimes you just got to be in the right place at the right time, word
Keep
of
an eye
mouth, that
out.
sort of thing. They don't hold the same value as deeded land for the reasons explained, but they are sought after in the same way.
How does that differ as, when compared to, let's say, an easement with Ducks Unlimited or something like that, if you were to do a riparian easement? Is it, does it kind of operate the same?
Um, it would be different so I'm thinking of like there is other forms of leases available, like permits, but which are only renewed annually, so there's no guarantee.
Right.
Um, there's other agricultural dispositions which act more of a rent on an annual basis. There's provincial grazing leases, which are under a different regulation, but operated similarly with the rangeologists.
Hmm.
Um, there's also forestry or timber easements, timber integration specifically. To work with the overlapping distribution with forestry would be so they could work with them in times when there's regrowth, certain stages of regrowth with aspens and other forestry products, so,
Right.
to allow cattle to graze. So
So the goal is really that sustainable grazing management in the long run.
absolutely.
Okay, and then just before I let you go here, what are the differences, or do you know if there's anything similar in the rest of the prairie provinces, like Saskatchewan, Manitoba?
Yes, there will be similar grazing systems in in the BC, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, as but there will be differences in how they're administered by the government.
Great. Well, that's a lot of information. And where can people go if they want more information on what Alberta grazing leases look like and
Uh,
how to access them?
our association website, AGLA, Alberta Grazing Leaseholders Association, have lots of great information available. Also, the Alberta government website under the Parks and Forestry, grazing leases or rangelands. It's a little difficult to navigate, but if you can get, it'll be around the Crown lands area of their website as well.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time, Brett. It was great meeting you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.